Michael Green. Fred, I would very much like to know more about Ross's hiring. I've heard rumors that Vin actually was close to leaving the Dodgers and that other announcers were considered. You tell your version, I'll tell mine.
No, it's very clear that in my mind, with television expanding, that we needed, and Peter recognized, we all recognize, we've got to add to our, we got to bring in someone in a very, very important role. And I made the suggestion to Peter that there is a young man at KNBC in Los Angeles, NBC, who I think could do a great job. And he said, and Fred, you're referring to? And I said, Ross Porter, of course. He said, okay, go talk to him. So I was attending a sportscasters luncheon at the Rams Horn. Ross can verify this story. And I said I was going to ask Ross about his interest in becoming, joining Vinny and Jerry Doggett. And I said, I was just about trying to catch Ross's attention. I said, Ross, I've got something I want to ask you. And Ross apologized. He said, I'm so sorry. He said, I've got to go catch up with Terry Donahue. I've got to do an interview with Terry. Now, I've only got a minute. I said, no problem, Ross. So Ross went on. So now we've mentioned the story. It's the press conference where Tommy's being announced as the new Dodger manager replacing Walter Olson. I was conducting the press conference. So I knew I'd have a chance to talk to Ross. Before I could talk to Ross, Ross comes up to me. And he said, Fred, he said, I'm sorry about the other day. So there's something you wanted to ask me. What was that? And there's a little devil in me that not everyone knows about. I said, yeah, Ross. I said, let me ask you something. I said, do you know anyone who might be interested in joining our broadcasting team? And Ross said, Fred, let me give that some thought. And I said, yeah, Ross, you do that. I no longer got back to my office than my phone rang. This is my version. Ross can tell his. And it's Ross. He said, Fred, this may surprise you, which it didn't at all, but I may have an interest in that job. And I said, great. So that to me is the recount in my memory bank as to how Ross, and they wasn't going to be hired, of course, without the most important blessing. Peter can have his thoughts. Fred can have his thoughts. No one has more thoughts on this as far as getting the approval than one Mr. Vin Scully, who I was confident and knew, as it turned out, that Vinny wholeheartedly gave his endorsement. So that's how Ross started a few decades ago.
I'm going to make one very minor correction, Mr. Clare, to your story.
Okay.
I had a choice of taking the film of Tommy and Walt Olson back to Burbank, or I could stay around at Dodger Stadium and have a sandwich with the rest of the media. I said, well, what I'm going to do, I think I'll just get a bite to eat. So I got the sandwich, I came out of the line, and Fred had an open seat next to him. So I sat down. Everything that Fred has just said is true, except one thing. When he turned to me and said, do you know of anybody who might want to take this job? I took either 1.5 or 2 seconds and said, yeah, me. Now, it's a Wednesday. We can't do anything Wednesday night. It's too fast. We haven't caught up. Thursday's a day off. I have a NFL game on Sunday in Buffalo, and I have to go to Buffalo on a red eye on Friday night. So Fred and I worked it out that Friday after I did the 6 o'clock sports at Burbank, I would come over to the Dodger Stadium. They would make it like a CIA operation and put me in a booth in the back of the press box in the dark. I'd bring my little tape recorder and I would audition. Fred had said to me at the stadium earlier, a couple of days before, he said, "Do you have a tape?" I said, "Fred, I haven't done baseball in 20 years since I was in Oklahoma." "Oh," he said, "we got to have a tape because we got 200 candidates for this job." All right. So over I go Friday night. I get in the back booth. It's the Dodgers and the Padres, except it wasn't. It was really Albuquerque and Hawaii, because the Dodgers and Padres were out of the race. They'd brought up the minor leaguers. So my idea was, okay, let me do about a half an inning to warm up. I'll back up the tape and go for good. So I did about a half an inning or so. I backed up the tape. I listened to it. I said to myself, you know, I could do better. I could do worse. That's pretty representative of what I can do. I'm not going to even do another one. I gave the tape to one guy, who gave it to another guy, who gave it to Fred. I went to the airport. Fred said to me, "Call me when you get back from Buffalo Monday morning." All right. I get back Monday morning and I call him. Fred says, "We like your tape. It's down to you and one other guy. We're going to send the 2 audition tapes out to Vin's home and let him listen. I'll get back to you later in the day." 4 or 5 hours went by. Fred called me back and said, "Vinny likes your tape best because he thinks you are closer to the style that he and Jerry have had." So from a Wednesday, when I was very, very happy at Channel 4, working with some great people on the news, from Wednesday until Monday, the whole life turned around for me. And I always have Fred to thank for that, for 28 wonderful years with the Dodgers. That is my version of the story.
Well, they're not too far removed, Ross, but great memories of that have followed that time.